Another aspect around this sense of being treated equally and being heard equally, Kathy, is around hierarchy, isn't it? And managers and frontline employees, and where there can be a bear trap in there. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's some of it is culturally kind of built into us, right? The sense of authority, that we look up to people in authority. And therefore, when we are in a position of authority, there's a sense that everyone has to go through me. There's a hierarchical mindset that we're all kind of conditioned to socially, through education and so on. So just to step away from that a little bit and to allow employees to use the channels that are available to them. And I think at Merit, we are very good with that, right? We keep telling people that, you can speak to your HR BPs, you can speak to anyone in HR, you can speak to your team leader, your manager, how many ever levels up you want to, you can just could talk to them directly. I know, Gladys, you have people who approach you directly. People with the data operations would reach out to me, and sometimes they come to you as well, directly. And they skip different levels, right? Which is perfectly fine. But it's important for managers to not take offense with that and not force employees to think, okay, you went to HR without checking with me. That's just not acceptable, because when we tell employees these channels are available, then it's our duty as managers to make sure that they use those channels. Because a lot of times we also find that employees hold back. So we have FGDs, we have skip level discussions and so on. And people will stay really quiet during those discussions. And then all of a sudden we hear that something's gone wrong with the team. And when we try and find out why, employees will say, I thought the manager's been here for so long, they will take offense. And this real sense of fear, whether that's a perception, whether that's a real fear or if it's just a perception of fear, I think it's the manager's duty to make people feel really, really secure that they can go ahead and speak to anyone that they want to about that. I think that just that shift from that hierarchy to being open to feedback is important.
No, I think that's a really good point. I think the manager has to create a culture and a mood where even their newest employees can come with the criticism, and with something maybe that they don't really want to hear, but actually I've created the environment where people can come to me with a criticism, and that they feel safe enough to do so. I think if you're in that situation, you're actually on the right track. As a manager, like no manager is perfect, right? We're not going to run our teams perfectly, but have we created the environment that allows those junior employees to come with a criticism? And that's really, really healthy. If your mannerisms, if your approach, if your style is kind of hierarchical and kind of macho or bossy, or, I'm good friends with Kathy or I'm good friends with Con, therefore, then you're probably not creating that environment and you'll get caught out, I think. And that's what the whole servant leadership idea is about, isn't it? Where you really try and break down that barrier of hierarchy, because then you will really get to hear how people feel. You can address the concerns, you can explain why things are, rather than them bottling it up, getting more and more frustrated, nervous and anxious about saying their piece. And that usually ends badly. So
also I feel, that is the only way you grow. If you don't hear anything that you need to improve, then you don't grow as a manager. So it's an important part of you becoming better at your job, becoming a better manager, if you're able to take some criticism, so to speak.
Yeah, and you can do this spending time with people, Bindu, isn't it? And just trying to connect with them.
Yeah, so I think we have an opportunity in our one-to-ones, which happen monthly for most people, to connect with them. So after the performance conversations are over and, you still take a bit of time, get to know them a little bit better. Do your, whether it's related to work or outside of work, just to connect with them better, get to know them better, so that you're able to then, be more fair,
create that culture and create that culture of accessibility. And
there is a fine line between being too friendly and
sure.
I think you need to be also conscious about that, right? Especially if you're a manager, again, people might, if you're too friendly with someone, or
they read into that.
People read into that and they think
you have to do with everybody.
So while we need to get to know the people better, there is also a fine line between, being friendly and being over-friendly or being biased.
Yeah, and you should really spend the same amount of time with every team member. That would be one way of checking that, really.
Yeah. The other way to build trust, again, continuing from there, is, assuming that someone reached out they skipped the manager and then reached out to their manager. It's not to go and say like, you spoke to my manager without actually informing me. Instead of like, going and sort of intimidating people, like, listen, I know about this. And instead, I think like, you can say, hey, I know that you went to, my manager and you gave some feedback and I'm happy to work on that. And, next time I'll try and, sort of improve on it. And next time, if you have a problem, you can always approach me and, sort of build that kind of trust, right? Instead of saying like, oh, you went to my manager and therefore like, I'll make sure that.
I guess if I'm an SDM or a project manager in your work, Gladys, and an employee comes to me, I probably will ask, did you chat to your manager about this?
Yeah.
Now, if the employee didn't, then I'd probably say to that employee, well, do you want to go and have that conversation first, see how you get on? If you're still stuck or you can't get agreement, I'm happy to referee your difference of opinion. But, if they haven't gone to their immediate manager, I would ask why, and try and get them to do so before stepping in. And that gives the manager a fair crack at it, because we have to be fair to the guy in the middle too.
Absolutely.
So that's something to keep in mind.